Mundane Mudichir is a 1983 Tamil film where the protagonist is forcefully married to a woman in a village. The next day to his marriage, the man lands up at a restaurant to have a meal. The other customers at the restaurant actually mock him and ask him why would he eat at a restaurant even though he's married. Shortly a while after, the angry wife arrives and yells at her. She is wondering if her husband is actually eating at a restaurant just to insult her. The entire scene is set with the premise that a happy family always eats at home, but a broken one eats at a restaurant. Cut to 2022, almost 40 years later, food delivery platforms like Swiggy and Zomato did almost 40 lakh orders in just one day, which is during the New Year's Eve of 2022. In fact, they almost did around 10,000 orders per minute at their peak. And we all celebrated it. How did we go from here to here? My name is Dharmesh Ba, and let's look at behavioral change and food ordering apps. In US, the food delivery penetration is around 39%. That is, almost 39% of the people who have access to internet order food online. In China, this number is around 53%, whereas in India, it's only 8%. There is a lot of headroom to grow. The industry is set to grow to around $12.8 billion by 2025 in India. When food ordering online increases, you know what decreases? Home cooked food. In India, only 9% of the food consumption is from restaurants, whereas the number is significantly higher in US and China. Not long ago, food ordering was not just an expensive affair, but also was a very planned activity. We did not have much choices in terms of restaurants. New age apps like Swiggy and Zomato, they came and fixed the supply chain. They brought in more restaurants, they brought in more choices in terms of food, and they even fixed the delivery times and made it more predictable. So what does that mean? I could get the food I want from the restaurant I want at the time I want, all in just few clicks. Most of these apps actually compete with our kitchen. So what kind of behavioral change does it induce when an app actually replaces our kitchen? Let's look at some of them. This is a framework for habit formation. It includes a cue, a routine, and a reward. Let's apply this framework for an eating habit. Our hunger is the cue. The act of consuming food is the routine, and the pleasure that we feel while eating is a reward to suppress our hunger. Depending upon each person and their body clock, the time for our hunger might vary. There is a new trend that emerges where we replace our cue of hunger with stress, anxiety, loneliness, and boredom. Good food makes us feel good. Whenever we have a bad day, we are more likely to compensate by doing something that helps us release the feel good hormone. Food ordering online has become the most obvious choice because it requires least effort. We tend to reach out to our phone whenever we feel stressed or anxious and order food online. It's called stress eating. The act of compensating food for stress itself is not a new behavior. But with the penetration of food ordering apps, it makes it much more easier and simpler to compensate our bad day with a good food. When does a family decide what to eat for lunch? They're most likely deciding one day prior as they like to procure groceries for the next day. It's a very planned activity. During that time, we're thinking from a very rational perspective as we are not hungry when we're making this decision. Now, when it comes to food ordering apps, we choose the food only after opening the app. By the time you open the app, you're already hungry. You tend to make more unhealthy choices when you're thinking from a hungry perspective. One could argue that these food ordering apps actually have a section called Healthy, which curates all the healthy meals from the different restaurants. But it becomes extremely challenging because under the big banner which says 50% biryani off, how does one expect to go and click on this healthy option? It's close to impossible. You don't have to take my word for it. Most of these food ordering apps actually release a report which talks about the most ordered food items of the year. And biryani has consistently topped this list across India. When you're ordering food online, you're just not paying for the food. You're also paying for the packaging charge, you're also paying for the delivery charge, you're also paying the taxes, you're also paying the tips on top of the delivery charges, and you're also paying the restaurant commission. What is this restaurant commission? All the restaurants are actually charged a commission by these food ordering platforms to list their restaurants in these apps. Now, many of these restaurants actually pass their commissions to the customers by charging the food a little higher compared to what you would get in the restaurant. Let's take an example. This is a bill from Subway. This sub is actually called an aloo patty sub, which costs almost 185 rupees along with GST when you actually go and eat at the restaurant. The same sub, when you order from one of the food ordering apps, it actually costs almost 225 rupees. Along with the delivery charge of probably 27 rupees, it costs 252, which is 36% higher than what you would end up spending when you go and eat at the restaurant or you do a takeaway. It becomes very obvious that when we order a lot through these food ordering apps, we end up spending more as even compared to when we go out and eat or when we cook food at home. This results in excessive spending when we start replacing our kitchen with food ordering apps. Yes, food ordering apps have made it extremely convenient for us to order food all by sitting at a couch. But this convenience comes at a cost. As customers, our expectations for these food ordering apps are really high. We want refunds when the food is cold, when the food is late. We start thrashing the brand on social media. We tag them, we bash them. And we've also figured out hacks by talking to customer care as how to get maximum amount of refunds. On the other hand, the delivery executives are subjected to extreme weather conditions just to bring this food. Sometimes it's scorching sun or pouring rain. I wonder if all of these efforts are worth just because I felt like eating aloo parathas sitting at home. So, what is the conclusion? The goal of this video is not to pick on a single person or an app. It's extremely important for us to be aware of the side effects of the choices that we make on a daily basis. With the rise in nuclear families where both the husband and wife are working, it becomes extremely difficult for an individual to be dedicatedly taking care of the kitchen. But are food ordering apps a viable replacement for the home cooked food? It requires a collective reflection before it gets out of our hand. If you're someone who orders online frequently, share your thoughts in the comments below and I would love to engage with you in a conversation.